In this video, we're going to start writing PHP code to perform MySQL operations. So first of all, we're going to go to File FTP and create a new folder in the root directory of our website. Okay. So let's call it MySQL. And let's create a file inside and call it one.introduction.php. Okay, so I'm going to use the contents of the last file in PHP or the PHP chapter to populate the introduction file. So first let's create a new folder inside our course folder and call it 7.mysql. Okay, and let's open this folder using brackets. Okay. Now let's open our introduction file. Okay. And let's paste the contents of the sessions file. So let's change the title to introduction. And let's get rid of the PHP code. And that as well. I'm going to change that to connect to database. So we're using a Bootstrap template here, which uses local folders, okay, and local files. So let's get these files from the Bootstrap chapter. So CSS, fonts, and JS. Okay. Now let's open our page. And here is the introduction file. Okay. Okay, we left some PHP code in there. Let's make sure we delete all of it. Okay, let's save and refresh. Okay. Now we're gonna write some PHP code to connect to our database, and we're gonna need to use the MySQL extension. So MySQL stands for MySQL improved. Okay, so it is a relational database driver, which we're gonna use with PHP to build an interface to our database. Okay, so first of all, let's just get introduced to this MySQL. I'm going to type MySQL summary in Google. And if you go to the first website, okay, in php.net, okay, so it shows here a summary of all the functions and methods we can use with MySQL in PHP 5. So we've got a couple of ways to use MySQL. We've got the objects-oriented way, and you can see here all the properties corresponding to that. And of course the procedural way, okay, and you can see all the functions for this. The procedural way is similar, it's very close to the old way, the old MySQL, okay. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna connect to our database. So first we're gonna use the procedural way, and then I'll explain how the object-oriented way works. Okay, so you can see here the functions, and also you can see the description of each function. Okay, so let's go ahead and create our connection. So to connect to the database, we're going to use a PHP function called MySQL underscore connect. Okay, and we're going to store the results of that function in a variable that we're going to call link. Okay, so the function MySQL underscore connect is going to return an object. So if I click on Control K just to explore details about this function, so it's going to open a new connection to a MySQL server, and it's going to return an object. So this object is going to represent the connection to the server. Okay. So let me just put a comment there. So the syntax of this function is going to be as following. So we're going to have the function MySQL underscore connect, and it's going to take a few parameters. So for now, we're trying to connect to a database. Okay, we'll see later on how we connect to a server. So to connect to our database, we're going to use 4 parameters or 4 arguments. So the first one is going to be the host of our database, and then we're going to have the username, and then we're going to have the password, and then we're going to have the database name. Okay, so we're going to need to use all these 4 parameters. If we were connecting to the server only, then we wouldn't need the database name, but we'll see that later on. So let's input all our arguments there. It looks like we successfully connected to the database, and the variable this time is an object. Okay, so if the connection is successful, the MySQL connect function is going to return an object. Otherwise, if it fails, then it's going to return a boolean false. Okay, so now let's check our connection. I'm going to write a comment there, check connection. Okay, and we're just going to check if the connection is successful, then print something on the screen, otherwise print an error message. Okay, so the function we're going to be using this time is going to be MySQL connect error, okay, which is just going to return a string describing the last connects error. Okay, so we're going to write if followed by a condition. So the condition is going to be MySQL underscore connect underscore error. Okay, so if there is any error, then this is going to be a string. Okay, otherwise it's going to be an empty value. So okay, so if we have an error, then we're going to print something else. We're going to print something else. Okay, so if you have an error, we're just gonna use the function die. Okay, and we are going to print the following string. So we're just gonna write error enable to connect, and we're gonna have colon, and then we're gonna write the error string. So just add it. So the error string is gonna be this. Okay. Okay. Else we're just gonna write that we connected successfully to the database. Rather than using else, we are sure that if we fulfill this condition, if we have an error, since we're using the function die, it's just going to print this on the screen and exit the code. exit the whole PHP script. So we don't need an else keyword there. So we're just gonna write our paragraph right after. So if we get here anyway, that means that we haven't executed this function, okay, which means that we don't have any error. So it's going to echo a paragraph saying connected successfully to the database. Okay. All right. Let's try this. Now if we refresh, okay, you can see our success message there, connected successfully. If we change anything there, and we try again, okay, let's change this, take out the full.com, just see what happens. Okay, now we can see our error message there. Okay, so the link variable is a boolean false, and also you can see the output of the die function there. Okay. If we try with correct details, then this time you can see again connected successfully to database. We can make our code look a little bit better. So rather than doing this check after attempting the connection, we can just try and say link equals this or die this.